Call the meeting. Start with a pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Approval of the agenda. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Motion carries. On the consent agenda, if there's anything you want to talk about, or if you need to abstain from anything, let's do so. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Bo,
Second.
second by Ms. Reed. All in favor? Moving right along. Recognition. Yes, ma'am, you're up.
All right. Well, thank you for having us, and I want to read a little bit. Mr. Kohler, would you mind standing up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. I've been here several times. Nancy Rogers. I work at the University of Central Missouri. I'm a PBIS consultant, which is what the elementary is doing at this point and has done. So if I can take a moment, Mr. Kohler, since 2016, your team has diligently been implementing school-wide PBIS with fidelity and perseverance daily with your staff and students. Ashley's sitting there right beside. She's been there every moment. Attending professional development as you have and implementing with grace and understanding, your staff and students are reaping the benefits. Your students have shown growth in understanding expectations and achieving positive results year after year. I can remember that first year, your ODRs, your office discipline referrals, you had quite a few, and you said, we need a booster, we need something quick, and so it's worked. Not only has your team grown in the understanding of the framework and systems that it takes daily for students and staff to come to a building that is safe, fun to learn, as well as led by a leader who truly cares about his staff and students and seeing them succeed daily. You received your banner in 2017-18 at your Tier 1 year. You reached the levels of bronze in 2018-19 school year at Tier 1 emerging, bronze again in 2019-20 with Tier 2 while the pandemic was surfaced. You earned silver in 2020 and 2021 at Tier 2 advanced, and now gold. You've earned gold for the 2021-22 school year at the Tier 3 level, and I think this needs a round of applause.
Ms. Rogers, they just give those gold medals out, don't they? They just...
No. This is an accomplishment in itself to continually grow while earning achievements yearly. This speaks for itself. It's been an honor to work with you, Mr. Kohler, but I know, rest assured, that Ashley will continue the great things that you have set in place at Tipton Elementary. Ashley, it will be a pleasure to continue to work with you and your team another year, and of course, to see another gold achievement. Your team and guests will be honored at a meal and presentation for your achievements on June 14th at Traditions, and you are invited on the lovely golf course of Central Missouri. We look forward to presenting your plaque at this time. So we do have a small token right now. It's just saying that you have your gold. Ashley, you need to see this too. It's just a small little token. And then we have a banner if you want to take a picture of them by their banner. But if I can talk for a minute, gold is, it's a hard thing to get. You have to be good, you have to have fidelity, you have to have a lot of data that you turn in for tiers 1, 2, and 3. And you do that with fidelity. Kids have, when we've come in and we've done a set, we've walked in to look at the kids, to talk to them, to talk to the teachers, everybody's on board. It's just who they are now. As opposed to even 6 years ago when we came in, we did some interviews and the kids were like, now what is this? Oh yeah, I know what that is. Now it's just a part of them. So I would, again, a round of applause for Mr. Kohler and Ashley. Any questions about PBIS or anything?
Would you mind just going over for the board, just the outside evaluation part and the part that you play as far as use of data? You're actually on site with qualitative. I just want to talk just briefly about that.
Right. They had to turn in data quarterly. And data looks like what they would do, they would look at their office discipline referrals, and they would even break them down to show where this is happening, where some incidents might be happening, who will be in that happening, as well as even a time so they break it down a lot. So we look at data. We also look at coming in and talking to your teachers, talking to the kids. They have to fill out what we call a BIP. And if any of you know what a BIP is, it's a behavior improvement plan. And they have had one little guy on a BIP, and he has made very good improvement. We've just kind of been watching this go. It's basically making a goal for this student, making him feel safe, making him feel loved and wanted. At the same time, encourage him to know there are expectations that he needs to follow to become a successful student and citizen of the community. So he has done this. When you develop a BIP, you have to do a lot of back work in it. It's called an FBA. You look at the whole child. You're looking at their social history. You're looking at what happened to them before, even other grades. You're looking at how the other teachers feel about them. But with that being said, that kind of paperwork had to be done, and not all participants or all of our schools that do this BIP and the FBA do it correctly, because it's hard. It's hard to do because you don't want to hurt a child. And so with that being said, they have done everything with fidelity, and they have done it very well.
If you don't mind, just one last, just for the board's sake, and we'll also have this televised. Can you talk briefly about the research base that backs this up?
Yes, this began years ago as a framework or a systems approach for special education. As we know, kids need to know what's coming. They have expectations that they meet daily. And so when researchers got a hold of this, they said, hey, this is a good deal for regular school kids. And so it took off. We have several people that are way higher up in Columbia. We have people in Oklahoma. We have people in other states that are doing research for us. And so the research is looking at having our systems together, which they do. They have all the systems going, meaning like expectations, meaning like feedback constantly from everybody. With that, they also have things like a process of how they're going to discipline and what discipline looks like now, because it's totally different than it used to. So the history of PBIS, it's quite extensive, but it's been around for a long time. When I was principal, I came from a BISTA school. And so when I jumped into this position, I thought, oh, this can't be a whole lot different. Well, yeah, it really is, because you're holding kids accountable for everything that they do, which is good. We want kids out there as being our citizens that are held accountable. So the research is heavily defined. We tell our schools when we come in, if they want research, this is one of the only embedded discipline programs that has a truckload of research. And we could bring the research into the schools.
And the pluses of that research being that when students behave well and are able to stay in school longer, they're able to learn.
Yeah.
So if we help the behavior, they're tied together.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
important piece of that.
And I was looking at their data, and it showed that no kid lost any hours this year of when they had their discipline. They were still within the body of the school getting discipline. I meant to tell you guys that's what your data showed this year. So something to be proud of, and something for you to be proud of as a school district.
Thank you for taking that extra time with us.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. Do you want to take a picture with us? Would you like to be board president or board?
Yeah, Craig, come here.
I want the board president.
Oh, yeah, we want the board
You all
president.
earned that, I didn't earn it.
We can stand by you.
I'll get a picture from the, you get one?
I can get one.
Okay.
Photoshop me. Your glamour shot.
Politician.
Yeah, pull it up there. Smile. Wait, wait. Sorry. And our person that has always worked with me, Joe Beidler, he is going to be doing another part at the RPDC. And so if any of you are retiring and would like to take a position with me, that'd be great. Mr. Culver, I already asked him, but I think the food truck won.
But he's also going to be running the Leadership Academy, right? Working at Leadership?
He is, yeah.
For our new
beginning-
administrators like Miss Better.
Yeah.
So she'll get a little more Joe.
She- Bless her heart. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Nancy.
Nancy.
All right, moving into reports, Dr. Rob.
I'm going to set up Duke Schneider, our instruction manager here. Good to go, special presentation. I think you can also see it there on the link. You can see that. Appreciate Duke being here tonight. All right.
All right. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Duke Snyder. I'm the project manager assigned to this job from GRP Wegman. I've got 14 years of experience in performance contracting, with all that 14 primarily focusing on the K-12 market. I hold a graduate degree in facilities management as well as an undergrad in construction management. I've been at GRP for a year. For the other 13 years, I was with 2 different employers. I'm a certified professional constructor. One thing I also wanted to mention, Terry, is I will be on vacation from May 23rd through May 22nd. We'll have Maya Wong, who's been involved in this project, is the temporary PM. Terry also asked that I show some pictures of the CME units. The CME units are the unit that is going on the elementary to primarily, not 100%, replace the Mammoth unit. There's 3 of these, okay? So this one, the elementary will have a 30-ton, a 20-ton, and a 10-ton. This example, which I installed last summer, is a 10-ton unit. You can see it's a lot smaller. I believe this example right here, this is either, I believe it's even a 40. The 20s, 30s, and 40s you can literally walk in. The convenience with this type of unit is it's not like that Mammoth unit, because before, if I understand correctly, Terry, you would lose that Mammoth unit and school's out. These units have anywhere from 2 compressors, the 4 compressors or 6 compressors, and each of those feed 2 zones. So worst case, if a unit goes out, you only lose 2 classrooms, and that's advantage of CME. Plus, it's pretty straightforward and easy to work on. Oh, and side note on the CME units, Terry, we've had concerns about material. And across my industry, we've had concerns about material. The CME units are being warehoused in Oklahoma. They've already been built. So They're waiting on us. So we've got about, I'd say 50, 57 Linux rooftop units. I mean, they range anywhere from 3 ton all the way up to 20. I know one of our shipments of rooftop units, I got notification, is currently sitting in Lenexa, Kansas. Lenexa, Kansas is a suburb of Kansas City, so we have a good majority of these already within 3 hours of the job site. What they're currently doing is each unit has a GFCI plug for whatever tool the refrigerant tech uses. So they're being put on as we speak. Terry, you mentioned the concern. What happens if the control parts don't show up, that operate the HVAC units? Well, these units have what's called a Prodigy Controller, which comes built in the unit. So I can program this unit. Let's say I didn't have the thermostat, something as basic as that. I can run this unit off the return air. Basically, you put it in constant fan, you can actually set points on return air. And generally, we will set them up to where, let's say someone hits the thermostat with a baseball bat, it will automatically go into that mode so you don't lose heat or cool. And the majority of these are I'd say like a medium efficiency 15 SEER. Just a small look ahead of the project here. Next week, Thursday evening, I will be here along with Maya and a couple other GRP employees. We will be laying ram board on the elementary floor. What ram board is, for people that don't know, it's not thin, but kind of like an 1/8-inch thick cardboard that comes in a roll. You roll it across the floor, you tape it. We're doing that to protect the elementary corridor floors because we've got a lot of duct work, a lot of rolling scaffolds, or banker scaffolds as we call them. They're going to go up and down the hall. We don't want to tear up the floor. May 20th, we've got a light mobilization that's still in staff day, but we'll be moving in things like our tools, job boxes, etc. May 23rd, we're going to hit the job hard. That's when ceilings start coming down. And on that same day, we're going to start the vent modifications in the elementary gym and cafeteria because I think, Saber, you want to use the cafeteria for some storage.
Correct.
During this project. So we want to knock that out so Saber has plenty of storage. The ship date I was given for the Linux rooftop units is May 27th. So that's probably early June when they get here. We're scheduling the crane for June 20th to do all the units because we still got electrical duct work we've got to do ahead of the crane. June 27th, I plan on replacing the electrical panels because I know you're still having some summer school activities, Terry. So we'll do that at the end so we don't have any issues. Substantial completion of the contract was August 15th. I would like to start turning over rooms way ahead of August 15th. In fact, we'll get into it when we get through other slides here. But we're going to phase some of this work. So I said, what will this look like? Here's a picture of what the ram board looks like, just so y'all can see it. In the areas we don't have ram board, we're going to be using masonite and tarps to protect the flooring. There will be loss of air conditioning in areas. I mean, when we shut down the Mammoth unit, pretty widespread. Temporary electrical outages, now those will be planned, just like the 27th. There will be dust, I'm not going to lie. Our intent is to keep the job site room clean. We will be releasing rooms for cleaning throughout the summer. We're not going to just shut the entire job site down and say, here you go, August 1st. We realize that's unrealistic. We want to get you guys cleaning as soon as we can. And just want to give everybody a heads up that there will be areas restricted, given the construction personnel only because of safety reasons. So here's just a general area of where the AC is lost. There will be outages in here and here, but these units are less invasive, so you pull a unit off, you put a unit on.
On the left, that's the high school guys, and on the right, that's primarily the elementary and a little bit of the high school. They're at the top, middle, and red.
This just gives everybody an idea. These are the possible areas that we've cordoned off here, like definitely this circle drive here. You see I've got it in yellow. These are a lot of our laydown areas. We've got this other lot for overflow of material because we'll probably have a lot of material in this vicinity and probably need this lot. We're going to have trucks and trailers parked along here. I want to try to put dumpsters here. That's the most convenient for us because there's stairs up and down this building no matter where you go. But I've reached out to the city and I've got to get permission. I did talk to the city clerk and she's got to talk to her powers that be. Just wanted to present this. This is kind of a moving plan here. And I shared this with Saber and Terry. These are the areas we need moved out, as soon as possible. These yellow dots here, this is the priority area. We're going to start removing these ceilings first because there's a CME located right here. So we want to move by CME so we can get the ductwork finished. When we set the CME, it can be turned on. And here's a small graphic that I sent out to Terry that I'm going to add in each classroom. Basically, we're showing these red areas where a teacher can stack material. Lack of funding. There. Okay. Any questions or concerns or?
I got a few.
Yeah.
Actually. What challenges do you guys anticipate during the modification installation? Like, I know you'd be taking ceiling tile out, potentially moving the grid around,
Vent modification.
or just like putting ductwork in, making changes to the ceiling. What have you seen at other job sites in terms of destruction of the existing ceiling grid?
Well, speaking of destruction, you're always getting a new ceiling.
Okay.
We've included that because it's not going to go back.
Okay.
I mean, when you do a CME unit, like, show a picture here. No, that's a good question. This hallway, this one's actually one of the bigger ones. This hallway is going to have ductwork, from wall to wall, runs of ductwork. When you talk about challenges, yes, there are challenges. There's conduits that need to be moved. They're in my way. But luckily, since you all, and compliments to you guys, started this early, I've already had Meyer Electric up in there, and we've already identified the areas of conduit that need to be moved the minute the ceiling comes down, or kind of in conjunction, for safety concerns. Also, just you talk about challenges or things I've seen on job sites. I want, when we take this ceiling down, and I've got this in Meyer's contract, because I knew about this ahead of time, I want the cameras, either tied up, bagged, or if they can't be tied up, I want them placed in safekeep and noted where they come from, so they don't get lost or they don't, some of that equipment's addressable. So you can't just put camera number 5 or camera number 8 is. But it's really hard to put back together if you don't do it ahead of time or, don't hire somebody. Same goes with fire alarm and speakers. Because that's a lot of times the biggest challenge is you start ripping out ceilings and it's like, oh crap, there's this, and that needs to be moved. We've already been through the ceilings.
And you've accounted for any of the, if something gets destroyed in that process?
Something gets destroyed, it's on us.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Another question, do you guys connect to the system via the network to do updates and firmware upgrades or make changes remotely?
I guess that question would be two-part. I can't speak for the firmware update because I don't know the exact brand of controls at this point. If it's Honeywell, if it was a firmware update, unless they've changed it, I think you have to come with a computer and actually connect to it.
Inside of our network or from the outside?
Inside, like you gotta go up to, there's something called a Jace, that's the main brain for the building automation. So when I used to do firmware updates at my last company, we would take a special cable and hook it into the unit and hook it in the laptop and download a file for a firmware update. Can it be accessed remotely? Yes. If you guys want, you can see, you'll be able to see all the temperatures of this building on a beach in Florida if you want.
The reason I asked, I'm in the cybersecurity business, and we worked with a school recently that had a major cyber attack on the account of an HVAC company promoting into the school to do updates. And I just didn't know what cybersecurity you have on your end if you're remoting into our network.
Yeah, Target's a famous case of that, actually, and that really changed my industry.
Okay, good.
So we work with your IT, and I've done, every IT professional prefers a different type of remote software. It's not the old days where you just dial into the IP.
Right.
And that's how Target got hacked, was through an actual
Right.
Honeywell Jace.
Or an RDP or something, remote desktop. session.
One I've used, but it costs a district money because your commercial is TeamViewer. That seems to work well, but the last district I dealt with, they used Smoothwall.
So you work with the IT department, you have security on your end if you remote into our systems?
Yeah, that's handled, like I said, we work with the IT, and we will do what the IT tells us to do.
Okay. And then my wife works at a school, they just did an HVAC system and they had a lot of issues with temperature settings and things in classrooms after the fact. What's your turnaround time like if teachers are having hard times keeping their temperatures adjusted right? You ever run into that?
I'm trying to think of specific examples.
Like she said, freezing cold air blowing on her all year and has had to kind of move her office around and stuff like that. So I just didn't know if you ever ran into that.
I run into issues all the time. I would tell you my turnaround as far as looking at it, no more than 4 hours. I usually have a computer with me, and as long as the IT gives me access, I always have my cell phone on me and I can remote in and figure out if we need a mechanical contractor or it's a mechanical contractor or a controls issue or it's a settings issue. Unless I'm gone. Now, if I'm gone on vacation or something, then obviously contact GRP and there's multiple of us still have access. For instance, like Mile Long will, Bob Fogarty will. And first couple of months, you implement a job like this HVAC-wise, Bob watches it like a hawk.
And typically, like the building principal would call you and say, room A and B have an issue and you guys have a 4-hour turnaround time on something like that, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not physically out here, but remotely, like, I guarantee, with our staff, someone will respond within 4 hours, if not quicker. In fact, someone called me on the way here, so I stopped at GRP's office and responded to him within about an hour, because as long as I have a laptop, I can take a look. But we don't want it to get to that because we're going to commission this job, we're gonna go through it. We're going to watch the computer like a hawk to make sure everything's cooling and heating like it should, rather than just saying, well, we got no complaints, let's just go away.
So you monitor it after it's installed? Okay.
We use local technicians for a service call.
Yep. Obviously, you know, I'm using Butzer, and Butzer is under warranty for me for a year. But after that, we can use whoever is qualified. These units are very straightforward to work on.
What's your definition of substantial completion?
Ability to have school.
That's substantial completion?
Yes.
100% substantial completion?
Yes.
Okay, August 15th. And then, if you're saying that the rooftop units are in Lenexa, do we have any idea what the controls are at? All the other pieces to the puzzle that you need? I mean, you guys are gonna have all this stuff ready to go, right? Okay.
Okay, as far as the controllers, the control system integrates into the Linux unit. So there's not, you know, the Linux unit itself has the BAS controller, okay? The main brain of the BAS is sitting in Butzer's office right now. Now, there's one thing I'll have to follow up on the Linux unit would be the thermostat. Because a lot of times that ships separately from my rooftop units. But in the event I had any issue with the thermostats, the unit has backup modes you can run it on. And it can also be ran on a temp stat, it can be ran on a temperature sensor. There's probably a half dozen ways it can be ran and comfortably ran without the CS8500 thermostat.
Okay.
I can't recall, but do the individual teachers have control in their room?
Yes.
Okay.
They have control to a certain degree. It's like a plus minus, usually it's plus minus 3. I would have to refer as far as the exact temperatures to the energy savings guarantee.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if the energy savings requires it to be within this range of temperature, do you lock it from going above that range or below? You follow me there?
Initially,
Where
it's,
we can't,
use a
adjust it to
district
fall out.
are never locked out. We will initially set it up to comply. Right now, the thing I caution is if someone, let's just say, goes around and we call it override, because by default we'll have the system plus minus 3 degrees, and I forget what the midpoint is. If someone goes around and overrides in the 68, you know, the system monitors that. It can, you know, it'll show that it changed. So we won't stop you from doing that, but you'll get out of compliance with it. You know, if Terry called and says, man, our electricity doubled, you promised X savings, then we're gonna go back in the system and look and see, well, what, you know, not accusing you guys, but what problem is there causing the electricity to go? And we see it's overriding to 65 degrees in the summer, and
so you send Dr. Robinson a report like monthly or quarterly that says you're doing good or bad or otherwise, or, you know?
I would have to refer to engineering on that. I don't know exactly what they do as far as the,
Or do you wait for him to say, are we out of compliance? Like, do we have some record of that?
on a performance contract, there's usually some type of verification. I'd have to refer to the engineering department on that. That's not something I deal with when I close a job out. So that'd be like a Maya Bob Fogarty question.
Just, you know, I know my wife's always cold, so she's gotta crank the heat up as high as possible in the winter. And, you know, I'm sure there's several teachers like that. And if that we fall out of compliance on the performance, we'd like some notification. I would think. If we're following.
And I mean, we
outside of that.
follow the system enough that I'm going to say something if I'm in there just looking at it, and a dozen rooms are 68 and it's 100, I'm going to say, hey, do you really want it this way? So I really encourage people not to override, because you'll override a room, forget about it. And then it'll just keep repeating that same low temperature. And then you'll override another and another, and then everything's out of whack. So I just appreciate it if we're talked to before stuff's overridden,
Yeah,
just so we have an idea, or we can maybe do a best approach. If it's an area that needs to be bumped a degree, it's fully customizable. We can bump the plus minus.
like Dr. Robinson may never know the second grade classroom's been overridden. You know what I mean?
We have 3 classrooms that have at least 2 outside walls, if not 3. And so they tend to be a little warmer, a little cooler. And so, like, if you look at your drawing up there, the bottom left-hand corner there on the elementary.
Where they're starting at.
Where you're starting
Okay.
at. Keep going to the west.
Right.
There you go. So that classroom is always typically colder and hotter. So they may have to have just a little different temperature because it's a little harder to keep that room warmer in the wintertime. Not so much heat-wise, but so they'll be able to make an adjustment possibly for that.
Yeah. And that's typical. Sometimes you have to do adjustments, like a pre-K is popular because they're on the floor. So those typically have to look normal.
In your laydown yard, you said you're gonna have the circle drive closed off, probably gonna have a crane there, some materials, and that you might have to use what we call the gravel parking lot, which is down here in the left lower
Yes.
corner. Is that gonna impede students from crossing the bridge going to the ag building? If we need to have class over there? Is there gonna need to be cones put up and a walkway made with caution tape, or how are we gonna address that?
I think if a walkway is needed, either caution tape or like orange snow fencing I can get. But we can establish a walkway. It's just, I'm concerned with the amount of equipment we've ordered. If we're gonna run out of room here and I need some type of overflow to stack equipment, I was thinking this lot. But see, here's the walkway, so we can set materials over here and establish a walkway.
Can you go back to that last slide you were at for the classroom? So the elementary, that your typical classroom, we have individuals like square box desks. Will we have enough room to stack those along that red, you think? They're not 4 foot, but each classroom might have 20 desks. We're trying to think where we can put things. I know we can store in the cafeteria, we talked about that.
Right. And we had changed that classroom setup as well when Butzer and I and the ceiling guys walked through. Just a little bit, I can show you. That day we had all the meetings.
Sure, yeah.
Instead of, they're taking 4 foot out, this is the hallway, they're taking 4 foot out of the ceiling out, all the way across the room, and they're doing 6 foot in the centers of the room. So we're just gonna mainly stay in these 2 corners and 4 foot away, 4 foot out on this wall.
Okay, so, because those are talking about that, so we can do more here and here.
Right.
Gotcha.
And the cabinets and everything, we're just gonna plastic over those. And Buzzer said they could work around that.
Because, yeah, I remember they were wanting this moved.
Right. Because their main thing is they're coming in with their duct jack, and they can move over the ceiling a little bit. They don't have to completely tear down the ceiling.
I'm just trying to save a lot of footwork and headache, like if we're gonna snap
And
store
to
stuff.
Terry's point, he called me earlier, I will have him a graphic by the end of tomorrow, like, I'll modify this and then I'll plan it in each classroom. So you guys will have a map like that.
Good. Well, we've talked today in our meeting, and we have students here Thursday, the 19th, that we could use to move our desk to the cafeteria if we need to. But Dr. Rock's gonna have to have that cafeteria for Friday, which is not a big deal, we have to move tables. But we're just trying to think, with foot soldiers here still Thursday, using our kiddos to move their desk out of their classrooms to the cafe instead of having one individual teacher pack 20 chairs out or 20 desks out of a classroom. So if we can save some footwork, that's fine. If not, we're just trying to come up with a plan so we know what to do for Friday. And it sounds like you're going to be working on that. And then I had a question about your ductwork in the gym and the cafe. You're going to replace diverters, right? The bottom, the things on the
Yep.
bottom. Diffusers, sorry. Is that ductwork going to have any way to be cleaned while doing that process? You know, it's 18 years old. I'm not sure what's going to be in there dust-wise and build up. That's just a crazy question, I know.
I will tell you though, we are pre-painting the vents, so the vents will match.
Well, I'm just thinking if there's low-lying dust throughout the ductwork, you know, they're 60 feet long with 40-foot runs. I don't know if that's something they could look at, see if there would be a concern.
That's something we can look at.
And going back to the dust, I mean, obviously it's gonna be dusty. I mean, would it behoove you all to have some air filtration in there? So we're not, I mean, so our guys aren't walking into an inch of dust everywhere? Because, I mean, it's one thing to ruin your RAM board and clean the RAM board, but if a tarp gets knocked off some desks, or a tarp gets knocked off some computers, and you walk into an inch of dust, or a half inch of dust all over everything, you're kind of compounding the fracture there. So,
That's not something I've done before. I've seen it used in like asbestos paint. You're talking negative air.
yes.
Yeah, that's something I'd have to look into. Now, if it concerns this area, what we could do here is we could just clean, you know, this area really good right here. And these areas, so the dust doesn't travel.
I mean, I think that would be a smart move.
One thing, you talk about negative air, I mean, it could just be simple as, you know, I could get 2 barrel fans while we're generating dust, open these 2 doors, set a barrel fan in each.
I mean, I'm just asking, I mean, that's entirely up to you, but I'm just trying to think that if something does happen or something, plastic or a tarp or whatever does get removed, I mean, it's a computer lab, you're looking at dust all over everything, and then you got, how good are your computers in? I don't know, that's a question.
No,
We're covered.
yeah, you'd have to cover them and blow them out.
Well, I know, but, I mean, you're talking about a job site.
Yeah.
When you put a tarp or plastic on something, it's inevitable, it's gonna come off. I don't care how careful you are, you've seen it, it's gonna come off. You know, and that's, if somebody doesn't stop and put it back, now you've got a cross paths.
Yeah.
But that's he's the superintendent, so he can deal with that. That's all I got. Anybody else?
I have something.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
I know you said when you're finished, as soon as, you know, our room is ready, it's ready to be cleaned. Okay? Can you tell me what time spans you have from that time until school starts? Get all the rooms cleaned? What time are we talking about here?
I would say our list starts the 20th. I would say we would start releasing rooms after the 20th.
About the 20th of
June.
July?
June.
Okay.
Because this area right here, a lot of these white areas, literally a unit gets pulled off the roof, another unit gets put back on. And an electrician comes in there, maybe there's a little bit of wiring, a little bit of control wiring. The control wiring is going to be happening the first week, of June. So they should be out of there, after we do our lift.
I was
So-
just listening to Craig and the dust, and I thought, I hope the dust doesn't travel to the clean rooms.
Well, and what I've done in the past, when I do this type phase work, is, I'll give you guys signs. We'll put it on each room. Let's say you clean this room, we'll put a sign on clean room. If somebody walks in there and somebody moves, they're gonna be responsible for cleanup. And when I do that, that's gonna be, they're not allowed in there until the job site's clean.
And Patsy, to add on to that, we were gonna have weekly meetings with Duke and Butzer and all the guys. And once they start releasing rooms, they're gonna release them week by week. So we're gonna slowly work through right behind it, is the plan.
Okay, that's good.
That's all I have. Anybody else?
Duke, thank you.
Thanks, Duke.
Thank you. Glad you're coming in. Thanks for taking all our questions.
Side question, Craig, have you been at Procore yet?
I have, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Legislative update.
All right, I'll just kind of stick to my script. We're kind of going along tonight. Missouri is expected to pass a state budget that will allow approximately 70% of the funds necessary to increase our teacher salaries that are below $38,000. The cost of the district will be about $40,000 to do this. They'll cover the other 60 or 70. The state allocation, the unfortunate thing is it's not a long-term commitment to increasing teacher salaries. It's a one-year commitment. This amount is subject to annual approval by the state legislature. It's similar to transportation, which since 1991 has never been fully funded. It's been, I think, as low as 19 or 20%. It's supposed to be 75% of our allowable miles should be reimbursed, and that's just not happening. So this is the state's commitment right now. It's waiting for the governor's signature the last time we looked. The focus of our state legislature, it's been kind of obvious on the way they directed this money, and it's recruitment and retention of educators that are relatively new to the profession. It's not really looking at people who have been here a while. So it's targeted teachers that are making below 38 grand. Our regular salary schedule is being significantly disrupted. That's how I'm talking about it. That's how the rest of the state's talking about it. I don't know, Kelly and I, we've been in education a while. You remember anything like this, Kelly, ever? The state's just kind of chunked out? I don't. I don't think anybody does. I've worked with MOASBO, MASSA, Superintendent's Academy was also doing some things with this. Guys, I've spent a lot of time in meetings, and this has been what it's about. I think I have another webinar on Monday. I have to check my schedule. This is all everybody's talking about. Is at the superintendent's Casey conference superintendent's meeting today, and everybody's sitting around the table. They're saying, well, it's pretty much a must-do. Is anybody going to opt out of it? Absolutely not. It's money on the table, and it does benefit our teachers, and it may just be 1 year. I'll present a couple, maybe 2 or 3 salary options to the board, all of you, in June. We have usually 2 meetings in June. One is our regular meeting, another one we just kind of focus on school finance. That'll probably be the one where we get it. There's just information trickling out about how the state's going to handle this. You actually have to opt in. As a district, we've always continued to direct our funds towards salaries and stipends and toward our teachers and our staff. And as the board, you've approved roughly $100,000 in stipends. That was related to COVID to teachers and staff for mitigating the pandemic this year. You've approved 3 base salary increases, which total about $100,000 over 4 years. I think we've always been trying to stay competitive, and we do what we can on a budget. So I'll be seeking your counsel in June and giving you some options, not backing you into a corner where you used to have one option and I keep pushing it. Now I'm going to give you some other looks and costs, and also put some forecasting tool in front of you and kind of show you this is where our salaries are, this is what we're spending on services, this is where everything's trending, and also show you what money's coming in and what we can reasonably expect. There's a lot of forecasting and crystal balling that has to happen whenever you're in school finance, but there are some things that are pretty easy to predict, other things not so much. We're in unprecedented times, and we'll see a lot of volatility. Well, we have seen a lot of volatility in our nation regarding salaries, inflation, the availability of fully certified teachers, and I think we're all committed to maintaining, as well as we can, competitive salaries and avoiding reducing our school services, our personnel, our school programs, but I don't think any of us sitting here want to recommend salary increases that we can't sustain or even hope to sustain, or increases that can endanger our district financially. So I'm going to do my best to give you as much information as you want to digest, and more if you need it, to just kind of get this is where we are, this is what we can expect, and this is how much risk we're taking or willing to take or not take. I think one of the goals, when I first came here, we had a 25% fund balance that we wanted to maintain. We kind of moved that toward 30, and that's kind of been my goal in just communicating with you guys to try to maintain us right there. But we could very easily, even though we're gaining a lot of ESSER money over the next few years and kind of flowing it into our accounts, that's one-time money. It's not going to be around forever, and we're going to come back over the top of that hill and come back to some kind of a normal, and that's going to be what it is unless we see more action by the state and federal government. But it's really good that we are seeing a lot of help from the state and federal government, particularly with the state, where they're actually directing something toward salaries. They're also looking at something called Career Ladder. That's an oldie. Kelly and I might be the only ones, and Nancy, that remembers that. Career Ladder used to, well, you might remember too, it's professional development, basically for teachers. They engage in things like things related to the comprehensive school improvement plan. It could be tutoring, it could be, I used to write curriculum. Actually, when websites were very new in like late 90s, I was maintaining Blackboard course sites for my students and connecting them with them remotely, posting things with them with Blackboard, and people were looking at me, are you crazy? And I think now it's just common. It's just like everybody does that. But there were things that you could have, approved activities, and those came in stipends. I want to say it was $1,500, $3,000, and $5,000. Am I right on that, Nancy? It's been a while. Probably that went out around 2010-ish. So now the one thing about that is with Career Ladder, while it's a good opportunity for teachers, it is more work. That's one. And right now the state's talking about it only being a 40-60 split. So the state would cover 40, we cover 60. So there's a whole new can of worms that gets open budget-wise on that. I'm waiting for some updates on that, on just how that looks. Okay, so I'll keep you posted. The Career Ladder thing's kind of been on the back burner. They're talking about it, kind of nudging about it, but not really fleshing it out. We all know what it used to be if you've been in education a while, but the 38K thing is the one that's dominated all the financial meetings that I've been involved in, and everybody kind of scratching their head and going, what do we do with teachers who have been here for quite a while? So that is my update. Any questions?
More to come in June. So.
More to come in June.
Administrators, everybody get a chance to look at their reports. Anybody got any questions?
Well, they won a lot of awards. I think that deserves accomplishment. They were listed what they did and accomplishments they achieved.
It said for the A+, it's for juniors and seniors during summer school. Is it only juniors and seniors then?
No,
For the
it's,
A+?
the cadet teaching is for juniors and seniors, but if we have, and I asked that question of
Miss Garber and Miss Wilson the other day, if we had any sophomores who had signed their contracts that wanted to come and tutor and help and support and go ahead and do their A+ hours, or freshmen that may have signed their contracts moving into their sophomore year. So they were supposed to give me that list of names. We only have 6 cadet teachers signed up for summer school.
Yeah, well, I can tell you Connor didn't have, I haven't turned his in because I saw this and I'm like, well, you're only a
No.
sophomore, maybe a sophomore next year.
That is just for the cadet teaching, but if he wants to do the A+, then yes, they would come, and believe you me, we need some help. We have a lot of kiddos. We have a lot of kiddos, so yes,
And if you
ma'am.
haven't looked at any of those summer school offerings, I think, you know, I gotta hand it to our admin team there, that while they're running school, they're planning more school for when summer hits. And they're doing a great job. I like what Ms. Pettigrew and Ms. Lawson have been working on to kind of utilize some of our online resources for kids who are out, to kind of keep them up on top of things at the elementary. Obviously, their school is gonna be devastated for a while, building-wise. Getting a lot of kids that are showing interest in that, surprisingly. Who knew? You know, some people like online. And Miss Matters group, what do you call that? Road trip?
Yeah, we're road tripping.
Road tripping and going to see a lot of cool places. One of them's the World War I Museum in Kansas City. So I think
You
there's
can
just
run
a-
down through the list. They're going to the
That's
Japanese,
amazing, World War I Museum. I used to take my kids there, it's fantastic.
Japanese gardens in Springfield. We're gonna get at least 40-some kids with their hunter's education license when we get done. Stark Caverns, American Indian Culture Center, Piat, I can't say it. Yeah, Piat.
I have no
I can't
idea.
either, okay. They're going to a castle.
Under the
There we
glasses
go.
on.
They're doing a Mizzou Day Dairy Farm, Wonders of Wildlife, Figure Lake State Park, Runge Nature Center, St. Louis Science Center, St. Louis Zoo, Big Muddy Refuge, Haha Tonka. They're going to 5 different art museums located from St. Louis to Kansas City across through Interstate 70 and Highway 50. And I had one more.
It's kind of an education,
Yes, they're everywhere.
like a vacation.
Is that at Cahokia that you're going for the Indians? COK?
American Indian Culture Center in Arrow Rock.
Arrow Rock, okay.
World War I Museum, Stark Caverns. If I could figure out how to say that word, I would. Finger Lake State Park. They're on it. They are on it. So, and we have lots of kids signed up. We have 90 students right now signed up for our road tripping, and that does not include students who are gonna need 5th quarter.
On the athletic banquet, with it starting at 6, are we gonna try and get the seniors out of there since we were already planning to leave
Yes,
by
we're gonna
7:30?
start at 6. So we're gonna start feeding before, so we will start at 6. Our agenda has us getting done at 7:15, which is, we stayed on schedule last year, so
Okay.
we should be out by 7:15.
Yeah, because our buses were open at 7:30.
Yes.
Anybody else have anything?
And I'm gonna do the senior, last year we did like the senior athlete of the year at the end. So I'm gonna adjust and put that in my opening remarks, so then that's out of the way. Just to make sure if they miss something, all they do is miss me talking at the end.
Okay.
What's the mission update?
Mission update would be on the 6th grade, so there's like some information going around, so it just helps to clear this up. As of now, all schools, if you're a member school, used to be you were 7 through 12, or you could be a 7, 8, and then a high school. Now, if you're a member school, you can be a 6 through 12. You just are, like us, we're a 6 through 12 now. The reason why they did this was because schools like Otterville and some small schools like that couldn't have enough kids in that 7th and 8th grade to play junior high basketball like they did this year. You know, Otterville girls couldn't play, so they didn't have a team. So with the 6th grades, they can stay at Misha's school, and then they can pull up 6th grade and still play. far as what schools are using this, every school that needs it is going to use it. Looking at our needs, we have a possibility of maybe junior high boys possibly needing it, because our junior high boys, that little 2-year age group there, could be at 7 if things work out well. But one kid quits, it's a 6. And then you're not sitting very pretty there for junior high boys basketball. All of our other numbers are pretty strong, but schools that are obviously going to use it for all of their sports because of their numbers in our conference would be Otterville, Lamont, Greenridge. Schools using it as needed, which I consider us as part of that too, because if we would need it, we would want to use it instead of canceling a season. You have Stover, Smithton, Lincoln, Colcamp, Windsor. Tri-county schools, I talked to Bobby on Friday, and I talked to Kyle last week one day over at Versailles, and as a conference, they are using it only if they need it, and they don't believe that they need it. But as you tend to move forward in time, I'm sure that some schools will adapt it, into their normal 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Pros and cons, obviously, if you add 6th grade in some sports that you wouldn't need it, football obviously is one I would be opposed to doing that, because 6th and 8th grade is a huge difference in football. That would be a safety concern. But, if you add it in basketball and you bring up to, 18 kids in a certain year, this year we had, I think, 15 junior high boys. If we'd brought 6th grade in, we'd have 4 more and we're at 20. You take a very good chance at running 6th graders away from the game at a young age because they're not going to get much playing time. But as needed, it's a good thing. But right now it's, as needed. If we want to add it, we can add it. The purpose of it being added was for as needed.
Are there any schools that are trying to add, like where I grew up, we played 7th grade basketball, we played 8th grade basketball. So
Right.
anyone talking about adding a 6th, 7th grade team and then an 8th grade team rather than combined junior high?
All of the ADs I've talked to have said that they can't do that at this particular time because they don't have coaches for that. They don't have the space for it, because if you add that many teams, you have to have places for them to practice. And then also on game nights like us, we have to play our junior high games same night, same location. So if we had a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade team, that'd be boys, girls, that'd be 6 games. So even if you took it down to 4 games, 4 full games, you're talking about a really long night if you have, A, B full games for girls and boys starting at 5:30. You're talking about a really late night. And the reason why we have to do it in one night is because you're home with girls on Monday and Thursday, if you're home that week. And then you're home with boys on Tuesday, Fridays. And then you just flip your junior high. So if your girls are at Otterville, your girls are playing Otterville and your junior high is playing Otterville at Tipton. So you just flip your location. That's how the schedule works. So space would be a major concern with that. And that's, as far as our schools, our size in our conference, no. And Windsor's taking the stance that they're not even entertaining bringing up 6th grade right now at all, even if they need it, because they are very limited on space. They're in worse shape than we are.
What about like individual sports, track, cross country?
Yeah, some schools have talked about that. From what most of their takes on it is if you bring them up in one sport, it's hard to say, yeah, we're bringing them up in this sport, we're not bringing them up in that sport, and it kind of causes a confusion. And it also kind of opens up that can of, you let us play this, why can't we just play this? And that's generally been where it's been. But it's all brand new too, so it isn't like it's something that's 3 years old. It's something that just started this year, and next year will be kind of the first year of seeing what people are going to do with it.
I think it just would be nice. I understand the idea of having too many kids. You don't want 20 kids on your bench when you're playing a basketball game or whatever. But so some of those opportunities would be for those kids on the basketball court, maybe football, volleyball, those sports. But
can't offer that, you could offer cross-country or track for those kids maybe. I understand maybe trying to having a uniform approach, but it would be nice to say we do have some school-sponsored sports for some kids, our 6th grade kids, even though we can't accommodate it in others, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, that's definitely an option to look at adding, you know, 6th grade for just cross-country and track. You know, if you want to just look at like positives, negatives out of it, you know, 6th grade being a transition year into that 10 block and adapting to how much coursework they have and having 10 classes. And now you add that on top of the stress of every day after school you're going to practice, which they don't have now with their athletics. And then every Saturday you're going to go run a cross-country meet in September and October. You know, I'm not saying that it's not possible for some kids. I'm just saying, you know, where you're looking at. Also, if you add 6th grade, how many kids are going to run, because that's the only sport you have, you're looking at added expense of probably needing to add an assistant coach for cross-country if we brought in 10 more kids to a 12-team cross-country from 7 through 12 now. You know, I think we'd probably want to add that support since it would be mainly loaded with junior high.
Jason, did you just say we would have to add another coach if we had?
I mean, if you got over 20 kids, I think you would want to have more support for that coach, especially considering a lot of them being 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Because I know we've talked about here about adding more sports and, you know, I was just wondering about the coaching, if we would have to hire another coach.
I think you would just take it year by year, kind of like what we do with junior high track. Hey, we have 16, we're fine. Hey, we have 24, we probably ought to add somebody to help, like we did this year with junior high. We added that support with Nurse Molly, because we had so many junior high kids in track.
Or would you put a limit on the number of 6th graders to, if you don't get an amount of number, would you just drop it, or what would you do?
I mean, no, you wouldn't. It wouldn't necessarily make a difference because it's all one team ran by the same coach in cross country, you know, and track. So it's junior high. So if there's only 2 of them that showed up, then just bring them.
Well, for that type of sport, it would work.
Right, right. Yeah, if you added it for other sports, you know, if you like your 6th grader playing sports that are the, you know, mainstream sports of your football, volleyball, basketball that we offer in junior high, and you bring a 6th grader up and they're playing 6th grade Tipton, you can't play same sport, same season. So you're forfeiting your kid's right to play in the Casing League. So even though you're like, hey, I can play on Saturday, you can't. That's illegal. If you're in the same sport, you can't play same sport, same season. So, you know, if your kid's going to move up to junior high basketball or junior high volleyball, but they don't get any playing time, then that's what they're going to get for that season. So that's why I think, especially for those main team sports, not necessarily the individual sports of cross country and track, you know, there's team aspects in them, obviously, but as far as your real team sports that require a certain number of people to participate, I don't think that it's in our best interest or the kids at this time to add 6th grade in volleyball or basketball.
Right.
Because you're gonna limit what they get. If you need it, yeah. You know, if we have 7 junior high kids show up for boys basketball at the meeting in, you know, November, yeah, I think it would be smart to bring 6th grade up because there's going to be plenty of playing time, and I think you would need it. And then, you know, you could do some B quarters with them and they'd be fine. But if there's 14 that show up, I don't see the benefit for the kids or for us.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing I have is, Ashley, I thought your ideas were pretty cool and I want a can of silly string.
Oh, thank you. We had 85 kids signed up, so
Really?
pretty good attendance, yeah.
And
It's
then
actually supposed to
Nancy-
say the old principal. The old principal is going to get a silly string.
Oh, the old principal.
Yeah, we're going to live that.
And then Nancy, on your report, your IEP kiddos, your 504s with 100% 100%, that's awesome.
I know, I read that. It's really cool.
Not that Jason, Leanne, lots of you guys aren't doing well, I'm just highlights. Anybody else got anything?
I want to give a quick shout out to the softball team who played very well
Yeah.
the other night. Come up with a sad loss, or I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, it was an amazing game. They played their hearts out.
Yeah, and I updated that today. The team that they lost to on your board report, the team they lost to ended up winning last night. So, they lost to the eventual district champion. So it's a pretty good game. Went late, very tiring.
It was like midnight when we walked in the door.
Yeah. I also have one thing to add that happened today with state FFA agri-science. We have the 3 teams they took up there today, all placed in the top 3. Evan Kutenkooler, Cadence Kemper, and Abigail Hunsberger, all 3 placed first. So that wasn't in the board report because it just happened today. So.
And kindergarten is up to 34 enrollees.
Wow.
Got a couple stragglers.
But we still have some stragglers too. They haven't enrolled in.
You're allowed recruiting or what?
You'll get more before school starts.
Yeah, but 31, when I did the board report, Joni updated the day with 34, so.
All right, moving right along, into new business.
We have some leaks. Thank you, Kelly Fuller, building principal, for pointing them out to me. He said, "Hey, Dr. Rob, have you seen this leak?" "No, show me." So we've got a leaking down the wall on the elementary side near the cafeteria, and it's got underneath some of the tile. We also have a leak over by Miss Talbot's room. More stuff coming in. That's from the big unit on the top. So what I asked when I put out the RFP, and I met with several of these roofers, I said, what I want is you to get on our roof. Kelly's going to show you where the leaks are, or Safer will. Safer gets them on too. And then you come back with what is it going to take to fix that. Okay? We do have some roof repair that's going to go on with GNR. When we take off the Mammoth and all the other stuff, so they're kind of already involved on our roof. But I put the bids there, and I'll be honest, my dad was a roofer, but I'm not going to claim to know everything about roofing. So they all kind of have a little different take on it. I know we've got some construction guys here. You can see the bids in one document there, and the range of what those are from about $1,000 all the way to $3,950. And then they actually have what they say they're going to do, which is that's where Dr. Rob looks at it and goes, okay.
I was kind of surprised to see the guy from Brashear wanting to come down here for $1,500.
I figured you guys have a perspective on this.
He burned up and gas just coming back and forth.
Yeah.
And the tagline.
But they're talking about, coatings and cleaning, and I'm just going to defer to our resident, well, all of you, but, the guys that do a lot of stuff with construction, I think maybe could give us here's one that got me. Rapid roof base coat elastomeric coating with spun flex fabric embedded into it over the seams in the area of roof leaks. I was like, I just did shingles and black paper. I don't know what you're talking about there.
5-gallon bucket of tars.
Better to say.
So it is 5-gallon bucket of tars. Okay.
Do we know how much overlap we've got between this and the roof repairs we're gonna have whenever we replace the units?
What do you mean by overlap?
Well, we're gonna have roof repairs whenever we start replacing units, and that's happening pretty quickly. So, would it be smarter to, depending upon if these are in separate areas, but would it be smarter to make temporary repairs, prevent the leaking, and then do permanent repairs whenever we get a chance, because those units are all.
I was thinking that, I see what you're saying there.
I was thinking GNR is already doing the job with the repairs for where the units are coming out, and they're giving you a up to price there. They're already on the roof. They already know what the leaks are. We just turn it over to them, and they're saying not to exceed 3,500. They're a local company, and they'll get up there and patch the EPDM roofing per manufacturer specifications. I believe they put that roof on up there, so they know what it is.
Right.
So they're already on the roof, let them do those repairs while they're out there doing the rest of the stuff they're doing.
From where I can tell leaks are, and I've walked around with the roofers, there's really just one that's not right next to a AC unit.
That's not next to one?
Yeah. And that's the one in, by the cafeteria that's got a 9-to-9 spot that I can't find anywhere on the floor tiles. It's messing up.
So based on that, do you feel like they're gonna damage their own repairs when they when they start replacing?
I hope they don't, but
That was following you on that. Yeah. You're already doing repairs on the roof when you do the.
because we're understanding with the HVAC guys and the roofers a little bit when we walked up there, that I call it the platform for the AC unit to go on, they're basically redoing those. The curb there, that's what it is. They're basically redoing those once the new units are set down, or right before they're set down.
And I put it out for bid because I really wasn't sure what it was gonna come in at. You know, and I was like, let's just see what everybody says about it. I don't know.
If we lay it on the table, I mean, and they're gonna do it in 2 months, then can they, if they're fixing roofing anyway, does that just kind of get lumped in? Other than maybe the one little area that isn't near the.
I mean, it's certainly would be cheaper to do it all at once.
Right.
You could tarp it, or use shrink wrap or something like that to prevent water intrusion.
Right.
But, I mean, it becomes problematic, of course, if you don't know where the water's coming from.
Yeah, it's,
There's no like deteriorated flashing.
no, I had the roofers up there, and the last time they're out of Sedalia and then GNR here in town, we tried to find it, we couldn't. But we know the section in between, like where where ceiling tile is leaking, you can see the spot, and the ceiling tile spot's like this, $50 size, a little bit bigger, but it's got a 9-by-9 foot spot in the floor, tile coming up.
It's like running down the mortar of the brick that showed you.
Area correct.
Yep, it'll start on the outside of the wall, and it goes in the wall.
Well, how do they know what to fix then? If they don't know where the water's coming from?
I don't know, they're gonna fix this big of an area? I don't know.
I don't know how far that rubber is up on that block either.
Not that
Water
much
is
water.
weird things as it is now.
It's
but-
like Kelly said, it's kind of like it's hitting a little bit on the outside and it's going into the block and going down like one of those cells and then coming out the floor.
The easiest route down.
Is it parapet wall, or what is it?
I think it is from where the cafeteria and the gym.
Elementary
meets
meets
the
the
lower
gym.
part of the elementary.
Have you looked at it?
I haven't been on the roof, no.
When
Does
the
the
roofing
roofing come
comes
up, and does it go?
It comes
over the
up and then they
parapet?
got, I think did they go into the ground or not?
No, it's just screwed
It just
back.
comes up, it's got a metal flashing across there.
Yeah,
Is this
it's
something GRP's gonna fix right away, or GRP, GNR's gonna fix, even if we pulled the trigger on it before the other work?
I think they're gonna incorporate it to when they start working on our roof.
I moved to lay it on the table, the roof bid.
So hold on, you don't want anybody to fix this?
I've made a move.
I understand, you just wanna table it and nobody's gonna fix these leaks?
I don't wanna vote on it tonight.
When are we gonna vote on it?
I've
When do you
already
want to see it
moved
again?
on it.
Yeah, I'm good with that, I just wanna make sure, because I still got water coming in these roofs, and I don't know
Well,
you guys
if
want it
we,
done.
my theory on it is if we approve it tonight, looking at the forecast, unless they're gonna do it like tomorrow, I mean, I don't think we're getting a lot of water in there before we get to work in 3 weeks. And they're already working, doing roofing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm following you. I think maybe there's some miscommunication here, because if, there's no preventing water damage if this is getting done whenever the roof's getting repaired with AC in what, a month or two, whenever that happens, right? So it's gonna continue to leak until then unless they target or do something to stop the water. Or unless they're going out first, doing the repairs, and then coming back and
Right.
doing the repairs after those units are replaced.
Yeah,
But if they're doing it
that's
all at
my
once-
thoughts on it.
If they're doing it all at once, then you're right. What's the point of voting for it tonight? Because how far away are we from that, them actually doing it that first time? Do you know that answer, Dr. Rob?
Well, you guys saw our construction manager here tonight. As soon as they start pulling things off, they're gonna do the, what do you call that little platform or
Curb.
something? They're gonna be on our roof, guys. I don't know their exact schedule. What I'm trying to give you is somebody who's gonna be tasked with taking care of this. I'll call them tomorrow and say, hey, can we get these at least mitigated right now? And then knowing they're gonna fix them, somebody has to fix them. I mean, I'm just asking you to choose who's gonna fix this? Who do you want to fix it? I put out these for bid so you'd have somebody to choose to fix it.
I don't mind GNR fixing it if they're up there fixing the other stuff. It makes sense for one company to do
Right,
it.
right.
I'm just trying to figure out what the timing of this is. Because if it's gonna be a little bit, but does need to be some sort of protection there. Someone needs to go up and target or do something. Something's gonna happen. You can't just let it sit in the rain until.
But I mean, they're not gonna flash and, they're not gonna do all the flashing and recurve all that. And just say, oh yeah, since we're up here, let's pitch in and do that. They're gonna have to be compensated to fix it.
Right, but then I think that's part of my issue, is just that I don't really know if they know what they have to do until they get that stuff up. And what they find underneath it. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but, or what they tear off as they're trying to get that stuff off the roof. So I don't know if that bid changes then at that point in time. I'd be in favor of like giving them up to a certain amount, but it seems like it needs to be somewhat rebid once we know what the damage actually is. Am I wrong with this? Maybe I'm not thinking about this right.
They've given you a bid not to exceed 3,500 to do, if you look at their bid, everything that they're willing to do to fix it.
Is there any, okay, let me reword it this way. Is there any overlap in that bid between that and what their bid is to do roof repairs?
No, this is separate. This is outside of our contract with they're working as a sub for GRP for all the other things that are going on. This is an addition to.
I know the estimate is for something different. My question is there any overlap between the two estimates?
Are they
For
fixing
instance,
something that they're gonna have to
Right.
fix that's already covered by GRP?
No,
No,
it's a
no,
different problem.
no, this is totally a different problem.
Different area, but he said they're all in the same.
There's two areas. No,
Okay.
there's one that's on the wall,
Yeah.
that's on the cafeteria wall. That's the one we can't identify yet. The one that's by the unit is on, down toward the base,
Got the curb.
the curb, and you can stick your hand in it.
And then Dr. Robinson, there's one in the center of our hallway in the high school hall group.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's
might need to look at having,
compensation drainers. I think it's from-
once the company was changed hands, which with Ross and Greg, they would come and make patchwork and move on. I don't know if the new owner's that type of person. But yeah, I would be leery of him thinking he's gonna recurve what he's gonna curb again in June.
I've been pleased with him. He did my roof.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything
Is
bad.
there
I'm just
metal
saying-
coping on this parapet, or is the EPDM runs up and has got termination bar with call?
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like.
That's
yes.
exactly
That's
what
the
it
problem.
is. It goes up, it's terminated right at the unit.
But one of the guys that came told us there was a pinhole. Well, how in the world, why didn't you mark it? Or,
Right.
I mean, that needs to come up the parapet, over, down, and put a metal
Well,
cap on
the
it.
problem is, I think the curve, what you're talking.
it just
what
goes
you're
up the wall
thinking,
about a foot.
Huh?
It probably goes up the wall.
But the wall's probably 10 foot though.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
15, 20 foot higher.
Yeah.
Then it seems like a change order to me, that's how I read into it, like during the construction part, so that's why I make that motion.
I mean, if we're saying these are all in completely separate areas, that we're not gonna have any overlapping repairs at all, then yeah, we need to fix it.
There is one, the one at the unit, AC unit, where the rubber comes off the curb, comes down, it's on the east side of the unit. Just a pretty good gap with the rubber that comes to the bottom of it. I guess we should have took a picture of it.
But, I mean, like, for something like that then, they need to repair it quick. It's a temporary emergency repair type thing.
Yeah.
So when they bid it, were they aware of the one that Mrs. Motors talked
Yes,
about?
I took them over to that
Yeah,
area.
'cause that probably is the same thing with hers, just better, it's the curbing on it. When they fix it, it'll be fixed.
It's right outside Mr. Kelly's classroom, right in the center of the hallway.
And that developed over the weekend. I came in Monday at 5 o'clock in the morning and I was like, oh boy, here we go. And it's from the unit running itself.
All right, so Clint made a motion to table. Do I want to second it or not? All
Well,
right.
I think if it's nothing overlapping, I think it needs to be fixed, yeah. Overlapping what's already been bid, so which sounds like it's not. It's other problems. I think it needs to be fixed myself.
I agree that it needs to be fixed. I was just looking at
Well, if GMR gets up there, just have Brett or Wes or whoever patch over by the mainlet until, or get with Leanna, and if there's a hole in the hallway, then go slap the patch on it. It takes them less than 5 minutes. So does anybody want to make a motion to approve one of these bids that we have in front of us?
Well, I'll make a motion to accept GNR. Do our roofing needs.
We got a motion by Patsy.
I'll second.
Seconded by Diggs. All in favor? Have GNR do the roofing repairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-2. Moving on. Gym floor design. Here we go.
These are just some mock-ups that we worked on this past couple weeks. It's what we talked about at the last board meeting with replacing the black with a darker stain. You want to pull it up?
You all guys will discuss.
There are links on the computer.
There's two different stains there. There's like a dark and then a lighter dark. That's just really for looks. We'll have to actually get the real stain samples from what they're going to have. But, you know, it kind of gives you the direction to go. And then switching out the cardinal head. There's one there that's bigger, one there that's smaller, and one there that's the exact same size as what we currently have.
The medium?
Yeah, the medium is what we currently have. It will be just slightly smaller than ours because our cardinal head's a little bit more square than the Arizona cardinal head. So it'll be a pinch smaller. That would be the large. And that would be
this.
I think it looks pretty good. One thing I would like to get. Yeah, that's the large.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to get a little bit of feedback on. I just thought it was kind of neat, so we did it and ran with it. On a home of the Cardinals, the eye is actually a 8-ball water tower.
Oh, I see
So-
how you pointed it out, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys actually want that or you think it's good or not. I just thought it gave it some type of you know, design that was
I didn't catch it till.
unique to Tipton.
That's cool.
I think it's
I did
cool.
not notice that.
You
Yeah.
have that on that one?
Up here, guys.
Does it need
Oh,
some
okay.
flame?
New t-shirt. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did not know
Oh,
that.
Yeah, I thought it was a shadow.
Copyright with that, right?
Pretty cool.
Right.
It's an 8-ball.
And then also this court is we couldn't get an exact high school court in the mock-up, but we're not switching to a college court if somebody had that question. It's just the only one we can get.
This is the medium, and I'll go with small. See each one, I'll flip through it for you. Kind of.
It won't get as scuffed up as that black.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's the small version.
That looks big. The small
Yeah,
version
yeah,
looks
but
big.
when you look at
This is the
the
small.
actual, the big one on there.
That's the big, that's the medium.
That's the medium. That's what we
That's
currently,
the large.
insane.
the medium is what we currently
And
have.
they're all the same price.
This is what we currently have.
Yeah, that's just, yeah.
And it's pretty big.
Golly.
So that's small. It's a big decision. It's for what, 15 years, is that what you said, Coach?
15, but reality is we usually stretch it out to 17 or 18 or 19.
Where's your 10-foot spike line on there though?
Well, again, they couldn't, the mock-ups they give you are just what they give you. They don't have the mock-ups.
Yeah, because I mean, I was just
all the
curious of
lines.
what.
Yeah, this isn't for them, this is just for us to
Yeah.
pick what our stain looks
And would
like.
we go, would it be kind of like that darker brown then? Is,
On
line?
the lines, no, it would be colored.
it would be colored?
Mhm.
Here's your jump.
It would be like, yeah, it would be like the lane line is black right there in those pictures to stand out against the
Yeah,
dark
that's what I was
stain
meaning.
look,
It
yes.
would be the darker coming
Right,
across
right,
the spike line. with it.
yeah,
Your cardinal is basically from 3-point line to 3-point line on this one.
yeah, it's too big.
It's big.
Yeah,
This is the medium one, almost to it. Here's your circle in the middle of your jump circle. You can see it. And a little more about the court with a little smaller cardinal. Anybody want to see any others? You didn't do the mock-up with the 8-ball fire in the middle? I asked for that. I didn't get
So
it.
we're just talking about a logo, the size of the logo?
and then what you think feedback wise, stain wise, there's the first
And the
one.
8-ball
darker.
in the eye, if you look, yeah.
I'm a big fan of different looking courts. I like the darker stamping. I like both of those though. I think they both look nice. They're much more dark.
What about just the Cardinal logo and home of the Cardinals? And do away with the Tipton and home of the Cardinals over here, because you're gonna have chairs, the scorer's table. I mean, do we really need Tipton on the baseline?
You got it on the mats already.
Well, kind of.
What does the mat say again? I forget.
Tipton Cardinals.
Yeah,
Tipton
okay.
Cardinals.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, those look great.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially that
I'm
paint.
plastic, It just looks cleaner, you don't have it on.
The underside.
I'd be tempted to make some of that lettering red.
Like where it says Tipton on the
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
baseline.
the underneath side, the
Yeah.
base lines.
And then like, over here, you're gonna have the scorer's table and all the chairs. You're not even gonna see that.
What's gonna be most intimidating to Sacred Heart? That's all I want to know.
I'd be tempted to make home of the Cardinals red except for the eye.
Ooh, that's pretty busy.
That is busy.
I'm more of a plain Jane,
I like it,
This is the small one.
just how it is, but I could go with red too.
What's that?
Mine's gonna be a Michigan.
There's a large.
Yeah, I think there needs to be some red lettering, either beneath the buttons or
I like the
on the
big one.
sidelines.
I don't know why, but I
You
do.
like the gigantic.
I do, I like that great big one sitting right there. I love it. I don't know
Good
why.
motion.
It just-
Gigantosaurus card.
It's
Super somebody.
gigantic.
Really just talking about Spain.
I guess just because it's
And the Cardinal.
It
different.
is, yeah, it's cool.
Different. I mean,
Whoever's on the floor will blame this board. We're all gonna do. Say, board, vote, board.
I'm going conservative on the small one.
Yeah, I think, my idea would be just, the cardinal head you got now, and, like I said, with the
This is the
new
one.
cardinal head, it'll be a little bit more square instead of the Arizona, which is kind of stretched out long.
Huh?
I gotta look.
Something similar to the current size. Yeah, I would just say, whatever that is, I would just say, what's on our floor now, just correct the cardinal head to our cardinal head.
mean, you know, just sit there, like you say, it'd be intimidating, just like if you have your visitor side over here, and you
So
have
we're
birds
just, the
staring right
stain
at you.
and
and
the
it's coming
cardinal,
up.
that's what we're talking
And
about.
then if you guys
What
want
we're looking at right now.
All right, does anybody want to move on this? If not, I'm going to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll make it, go ahead.
Go ahead, if you want to fire away, fire away.
I'll move on the small logo, just as it is. I like it just how it is.
Like we
Somebody
got
can
now?
amend that.
Like we got now, the light stain or dark
The
stain?
small one's smaller than what we have.
I-
Medium is what we have.
I
now.
like the medium.
You can amend my motion. I did, so,
Withdraw your motion?
I like the light stain. I'm going small logo, light stain. I move on that,
This one right here. Clint.
just as it is.
This is Clint's motion. Do we have a second?
Anybody want to second Clint's motion? We're just talking about the cardinal head and the stain now, right? Or do you want all the other stuff? You said as is, so as is, right?
As is, just like it is,
There you go.
as presented.
8 balls, 10 tipped in both
So
ends.
Clint's got a motion? There it is. That's Clint's motion.
Somebody can move to amend that, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Offer a friend.
What's everybody
Do a
else's thoughts?
second, and
You have
I
to
like the
second.
medium one.
Yeah, I do too.
Kind of partial to me.
No second? Guys, for lack of a second.
I'm gonna tweak it. Well, I like the medium, but I don't like the Tipton in the baseline.
Okay. Then you're gonna make a motion for medium without tipped in the baseline. Is that your motion?
What color stain?
Helping you guys. You want-
I'm good with that, I just don't like Tipton on there in the baseline.
Do you want anything down there, or you just want that, just stay? Just so I can be clear, whatever I move forward.
That's my motion.
Okay.
Stephanie's motion is medium size, no tipped in the baseline, all stained. Is there a second?
and dark stain?
I like it.
Like that dark stain right there? you're
Just
saying?
like this,
Yeah.
minus Tipton
Mine is
in the
tip.
baseline.
Okay. Red. Or white,
What do you mean?
just like it is.
Except for get rid of Tipton in the baseline.
Oh, okay.
No Tipton in the baseline.
All right, Stephanie, what's the medium logo on the Cardinals on the side, no Tipton on the baseline? Dark stain, do I have a second?
I'll second
Patsy's got it, Patsy's second.
Okay, take a vote.
All in favor?
Carries.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, passes 5-2.
And what did you tell me before this? They're gonna pick the medium logo.
I like the medium logo.
I like the small logo with only the Cardinals on one side and nothing
Okay,
else.
so fight about it later.
Because you're not even gonna see this over here.
As long as we leave the boardroom green,
Probably should have put some colors on it.
That'll wait.
right?
Just me. We can add that one.
All right.
All right, moving on.
Where are we at here?
Since we have Jim Floor, Dr. Rob on consideration of mowing contract.
Okay, had some concern about, we've got Saber, Mikey, and Tina, who's our only employees for maintenance custodial right now. Saber, you want to talk about mowing and your duties and your thoughts?
I know mowing got away from us a couple weeks ago. We had nonstop rain, and we had some issues in the buildings. Not issues, we had map testing, we couldn't mow around the buildings, we didn't disturb students. That was our main thing. Mr. Kohler mowed on a Sunday for me twice, and Aaron Diggs helped last Sunday. I appreciate y'all's help on that. We got 7 days of school left, and then it took me and Mike 4 hours yesterday to remow everything. That's not weed eating, that's another probably 2 hours, 2 guys. I know I'm gonna be mainly in the bathrooms. That's my main concern. Everybody keeps saying, well, I'm not gonna have time. No, I don't have to have time. All I do is gotta point my finger and tell Mike and Fisher, Miss Fisher's son, Braden, we can hire him this summer. I told him that's probably all you're gonna be doing unless we decide to bid it out, which I'm fine with either way, whatever we wanna do.
Any other thoughts from the board on how you'd like to go? Do you want to bid this out, or you want to continue? My only concern is that, you know, we've got 3 people, we've got a lot of staggered cleanup that's gonna have to happen over the course of the summer. Saber's gonna be occupied. It's a lot, and I've told him, we talked. I've got some concern, but obviously it's another allocation of money. Of course, we're not paying our 2 night custodians because we don't have 2 night custodians right now. That's just my opinion. What would the board like to do?
Well, cleaning those rooms is a job twice over, you know. So you sanitize and you polish and everything.
Right.
And then you move all the desks. And then you have to get around to all the construction. We don't want to wear you out.
No, I understand that. I mean, Grant, I know if we bid it out, that's a lot more money out of pocket. And I have no problem coming in after a full day's work and going mowing for 2 hours and Mike mowing for 2 hours. Just knocking out as much as we can, a couple days a week. Granted, yes, I know that's overtime and it's got to adjust the budget, but you're still saving money versus the company I've talked to. I've got a couple of buddies that do lawn care. For us, for them to mow once, you're looking probably around $1,600 a time.
Yeah, but, I mean, can we do what we did last year with those guys? I mean,
We would put it out for bid again.
you have to bid it again.
I've got the bids in this hand from last year now. Of course, that's probably changed. Or look,
Right.
20.
And my only issue with that is our equipment. We probably spent $1,200 on mowers, fixing mowers this spring as well. And we're already paying for fuel and everything else. Culpepper, me and Culpepper had talked about it. If they do bid it, they should bid it using their equipment, not costing us extra money out of our pocket for the mowers and stuff like that.
What are we gonna do with the mowers? Let them sit up there and collect dust?
Well, we're still
Not
mowing.
use them or what?
We're still
I mean,
mowing the football field.
If you have the mowers, let them use the mowers if you can get a decent bid.
Right.
I mean,
No, I
just
understand that.
because you have a mower and you spent $500 and put a new set of blades on it, I mean, what the hell? Just
I
let
have
somebody
to do
use it.
that every year. I mean, we mow 12 yards, and that's just part of the business of mowing.
So the mowing would be for
You're gonna
everything
replace
minus
stuff no matter
the
who
football
mows.
field?
Yeah, because Ag's doing the football field.
Okay, because that was gonna be my question after I read that.
Ag has taken over mowing on the football field.
Okay.
So, in the consent agenda, we approved posting summer help custodians, student, part-time workers. What are they, I mean, do they play into this at all?
Every summer, we have used students for, we've hired a couple usually, sometimes some for a week, and they can come in for a week. Painting, cleanup. I don't think we've ever had anybody mow yet, have we?
Yeah,
Kate Tucker.
Teacher boys.
Tucker teacher, okay, yeah.
Kate and
Yep,
Tucker.
yep, they came in and mowed, so I forgot about them. But we've got moving things, so it's just kind of some extra hands to make sure we open school on time. So I put that in consent agenda because I feel like we talked, you probably haven't been here every year, we talked about it, but at one time we would just talk about it. You know, we spent a lot of extra time on some part-time summer school workers, so I put that in every year meetings.
What would our liability be on mowing, running power equipment with a minor?
We've got students working power equipment, welders and everything else in the ag shop. I mean, we're liable, obviously, you know, I just don't think that puts us on any less or any more, you know.
Yeah, it's different
It'd be like-
because we're
they would put
paying
it on
them.
Versus a student.
I don't know how that works, but so I don't know enough about it.
So is there any more discussion on the mowing? What you guys want to do on the mowing?
I said bid it up one more year, at least, because we're gonna have a busy year, busy summer.
So a suggestion, opinion, or a motion?
Motion.
That's a motion. Dick just got a motion on the floor.
Second.
Seconded by Clint. You get that, Leslie?
Got it.
All in favor? 7-0, or sorry, 6-1. Moving on. Midwest On-Site Tech.
Oh, I'm waiting on
Yeah, I was
that.
gonna say.
Then we'll have to go back.
We got lease agreement.
Yeah.
Did I skip it?
Yeah,
I
Glenn,
did.
but
Hang on,
Glenn's
Glenn.
already walking away.
Glenn.
Come back.
Consideration of lease agreement with American Family Insurance.
Romy will be taking over for his father in August, and they have expressed their desire to continue to lease that property. You have the legal opinion from our head counsel lawyer. I'm recommending we continue to lease to them, mainly because the amount that we receive in rent is taking care of any interest that we might pay on the purchase of this building. And we don't have a current need for the space they occupy. I know there's been some question about that, and you guys have been approached in the community about that, so I made sure I called our lawyer so that you would have the legal opinion there on that, because I know there's been some questions in the community on whether that's illegal and whether we can do that. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So,
And you had explained that to me at one point, that really, I mean, that's our only option, isn't it?
what's that? The only option is to lease to them?
Yeah, because,
The way we have it now, because they were an existing company that was there, when we bought this building, we could get the lease purchase, which is a lower interest rate, a much lower interest rate, for this building. As long as we occupy, I want to say, don't quote me on it, it was somewhere around 80–90% of the space that we purchased. We can't purchase something for an investment. We
Right.
purchased it, and he was already here. So, since he was already here, that business is already here, we can continue to use that property. Or sorry, not use it, I mean, we can get we can lease that property because we're not using it, we're not in need for it yet. It's kind of a unique situation. If it was just this building, there would be nothing to talk about. But there was an existing building attached. It was added by the Bixlers, I guess, a long time ago. And they were already there. So we became essentially the landlord for that. And you see what the lawyer has told you here, is that we could do that. Now, I mean, if you wanted to, you could put it out, you know, declare it a surplus property. But you don't have to at this point, because it was already existing when you bought the property.
I'm looking at the money coming in to pay the interest. It's legally sound. We're a small community. They've been there and grandfathered in. This looks to me like it's just the continuing clause from the beginning. It's in the family name. And I think it's a good deal. Because what are we going to do with an empty building? So I'll make a motion that we extend the lease to Romy Brandt in August, continuing as Dave Brandt paid $9,000 a year in rent.
I'd be fine with that too, but what does our language talk about when if something changes? I know it's a lease agreement, but there's probably terms in there about ending that relationship.
I will
You know,
check, and
either side.
I put a call in just to be, I need to know what you guys want to do, but there are actually two lawyers involved, and one is on the lease purchase of this building. So there was a legal ruling we had to do through that. Our side of it is that can we lease it? That's through a council lawyer. I'm waiting to hear back from Tony Stegman with Stiefel, just to be sure. That's the second check. She's just been out of office, and I couldn't reach her. But if anything changes, I'll let you know. I just haven't heard back from her yet, though, on that question.
I just would, you would think that you'd want to make that language fair on both sides. But there should be something in there, but obviously that would.
Is it for a year lease?
It's month to month.
Month to month? I like
Has to be
those.
month to month.
I like
Has
those.
to be.
That kind of answers the question.
So we got a motion on the floor by Patsy to
I'll second.
go into a lease agreement with Romy Brandt with American Family Insurance. Seconded by Bo, all in favor? 6-1. Moving on, I did go eat some cheesecake, Clint.
Oh. Got a big cheesecake? Enjoy it. Share it. Don't eat it all.
Midwest on-site computer.
Okay.
Talk about
We will need an on-site computer tech on our campus with as much computer technology we have. I think we have 5 computers total in our district. Well, sorry, no, we have 5. We probably got 700 or more. I don't know what the latest audit. I mean, there's one for every kid, plus new computer labs, plus the computers for our administrators. We are in need of tech, and I have to make this work on our budget. Midwest Computech this is the same agreement which we've had before. It usually comes up yearly. Ryan Keel, who is our salesperson, our sales rep, say, with all the other districts, I just kind of do a 3-year agreement. We don't have to keep coming back and revisiting this every year. You want me to write it for 3 years? I said, I think that sounds fine. There's their agreement. I recommend that we have a motion just to go ahead with that. Locks it in. Protects us against a lot of unforeseen inflationary forces.
Need a motion?
Anybody got any questions or discussion?
The other option would be to advertise for somebody that might be skilled in technology, negotiate a price for that person and make them the tech director of the district. And I surveyed some of the conference schools that have a full-time tech person that do this, or they get another service. They're paying as much or more than we're paying right now. The advantage would be in the Midwest, and this, I'd say that from us here or not, I've been pleased with them, because I feel like when I ask the on-site person, whether it's Vitale or the guy Chris, what can you tell me about this? This is not working correctly. What do we need? He says, I don't know, but let me make a call. So he gets on the phone and he's got people he can network with, and they give us a solution. They're very quick with equipment we need. I feel like we get good service.
So we have one now.
Yeah,
Already?
Yes.
full time. Yeah. We
And
have
you
had
cannot live without
for a
one.
few years now.
Mhm.
2
You
years.
have to have
2 or
one.
3. About the time the pandemic hit, we picked it up full time.
And it just states that they're going to provide a tech, not we're gonna keep this tech instead of
Correct.
jockeying people around to other districts.
Correct. We'll always have a tech. Yeah.
Because you don't wanna be a, training ground and then
And I
up
think
and move somebody 3 months down the road and we keep getting somebody new in here.
that's always the possibility. It doesn't lock a certain person in, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I mean, if you're doing a 3-year deal, 1-year deal would be different, but now you're doing 3, you could have a possibility of 6 people being in here in 3 years. It's just a possibility, I'm not saying it's gonna happen. They do provide good service.
And Midwest goes through roles of people too. I do know other districts that use Midwest, and they've had several sometimes. I think, I'll just be, really open. I mean, I think we do get some preferential treatment. They treats us good. I think it's because no one's with them. And that's a good pickup for us, as far as I'm concerned.
Any other questions?
Well, I'll make a motion that we continue to hire the Midwest Tech at the price of $5,413. Okay?
Cents. Motion on the floor by Patsy, seconded by Bo. All in favor? 6-0. Clint's already asleep on Dr. Ross' couch.
All right, I'll move into executive session pursuant to 610.021 to discuss number 3, to include Board of Education, Slade Miller, Colbecker, Controller, Pettigrew, Robinson, and East Thomas.
There it
Motion
is.
by Bo,
I'll
I'll second.
seconded by Ashley. Vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Reed. Ashley.
Yes.
Diggs.
Yes.
Clint, we're moving into closed session.
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Myself, yes, 7-0. Take a recess.